Hello, I'm Isaac Hayes III, founder and CEO of Fanbase, and I'm here with a very important message. We are at a turning point in the Black community where we must have equity in the apps we use that scale to billions of dollars. But this time, we own the infrastructure, we own the culture, and we shape the future. And Fanbase is the future. Fanbase combines the free functionality of Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube into an all-in-one platform built for the evolution of social media and monetization. With over 1.4 million users, that's real proof that we are shifting the conversation of tech ownership and equity for creators. So right now, I want you to go to startengine.com/fanbase and invest today. The minimum to invest is $399. That gets you 60 shares of stock in Fanbase at $665 a share. This marks a turning point in Black ownership of social media. If we don't take this opportunity to own social media right now, we will always be customers to our own creations. And that can't go on. So once again, go to startengine.com/fanbase and invest today. We must own the platforms where our voices live, our stories matter, and where our culture drives the world. Thank you.
Folks, Black Star Network is here.
Hold no punches!
I'm real revolutionary right now. Black power.
Support this man, Black media. He makes sure that our stories are told.
Thank you for being the voice of Black America, Roland.
Stay black. I love y'all.
All momentum we have now, we have to keep this going.
The video looks phenomenal.
See, this difference between Black Star Network and Black-owned media and something like CNN.
You can't be Black-owned media and be scared.
It's time to be smart.
Bring your eyeballs home.
You dig? Today is Tuesday, October 14, 2025, coming up on Roland Martin Unfiltered, streaming live on the Black Star Network. Racist maggots exposed. Politico obtained thousands of private messages exposing young GOP leaders joking about slavery, racism, rape, gas chambers, using the N-word. You know, we're not shocked. But guess what? They are. There's always an election happening in November. Virginia will elect its first ever woman governor. And we'll talk with the Democratic candidate right here on the show. Plus, early voting begins today in Georgia's municipal and special elections, including a closely watched mayoral race in Marietta. We'll talk to one of the candidates. Day 14, the government shutdown and the deadlock in D.C. shows no signs of breaking. Democratic Senator Cory Booker will be here for the first time in 3 years to talk about what the Senate is doing. In our Shop Black Star Network Marketplace, we'll meet the creator of the American-made, gluten-free, non-GMO, MSG-free, vegan-friendly Harmonic Chips. Damn, what does that taste like? Plus, the neo-soul community saddened with the death of D'Angelo at the age of 51. Folks, it is time to bring the funk. I'm Roland Martin Unfiltered on the Black Star Network. Let's go.
He's got it. Whatever the miss, he's on it. Whatever it is, he's got the scoop, the fact, the find. And when it breaks, he's right on time and it's rolling. Best believe he's knowing. Putting it down from sports to news to politics. With entertainment just for kicks, he's rolling. It's on go, roll, roll, y'all. It's Roland Martin, yeah. Rolling with Roland now. He's funky, he's fresh, he's real, the best. You know he's Roland Martin now.
All right, folks, welcome to the show. Glad that you are here. Let's get right into this. Politico got their hands on thousands of private messages of these young GOP leaders. It was in this app called Telegram. They were joking about all sorts of different things. Gas chambers, slavery, rape, using the N-word, all sorts of stuff. Politico called the headline, "I love Hitler." Leaked messages expose young Republicans' racist chat where they refer to black people as monkeys and the watermelon people, and mused about putting their political opponents in gas chambers. Kansas Young Republicans Vice Chair William Hendricks, former Vice Chair of the New York State Young Republicans Bobby Walker, and Chairman of the Association of New York State Young Republicans Club Peter Giunta were among the Republican leaders named in the report. Giunta reportedly apologized, saying, quote, "I am so sorry to those offended by the insensitive and inexcusable language found within the more than 28,000 messages of a private group chat that I created during my campaign to lead the Young Republicans." The 2,800 pages of chats shared among Young Republicans between January and mid-August, a few of these folks no longer have jobs. Well, guess what, y'all? Here are a few of the leaked messages. Let's go to the first one. Look what it says right here. Everyone that votes no is going to the gas chamber, and everyone that endorsed but then votes for us is going to the gas chamber. When did we start bullying, dude? We have 3 solid people who can probably have them want to jump. If they vote for us, why would they be gas? When do we bring that side out? I'm going to create some of the greatest physiological torture methods known to man. Can we fix we only want true believers. Can we fix the showers? Gas chambers don't fit the Hitler aesthetic. I'm ready to watch people burn now. We got to pretend that we like them. Hey, come on in, take a nice shower and relax. Boom, they're dead. Okay. That's how we do it? Let's see here. Let's go to the next one. Yeah, I had some back and forth with the VC in Michigan. Current chair is a deer in headlights. We have a call Wednesday. Many agree. He did say, my delegates, I will bring vote. I will vote for the most right-wing person. Great. I love Hitler. Joe, did you look it up yet? Just did. Probably shouldn't have on my work computer. The Spanish came to America and had sex with every single woman. Sex is gay. Sex, it was rape. Epic. Let's go to my panel. Dr. Mustafa Santiago Ali, former senior advisor for environmental justice with the EPA out of D.C. Dr. Larry J. Walker, associate professor, University of Central Florida out of Orlando. Cameron Trimble. I'm getting lots of feedback. Is there like some machine on or something? I don't know what I'm hearing a lot. Cameron Trimble is CEO of Hip Politics Media and former White House senior advisor, also out of D.C. So, whole lot of fun stuff coming from these right-wing young Republicans. Sound just like their Jim Crow grandfathers, Cameron.
Yes, we shouldn't be shocked, though. I think Trump has really, and the right wing and GOP has given so much space and place to both racist, fascists, sexist, and so much more. Like they took the governors off, and they're just willing to, like he said in one of those messages, just go for true believers. I think that was such a half-hearted response, and I wouldn't even call it an apology from one of their leaders. But I'm curious to how this moves the needle, or if it just further exposes what a lot of us already feel is that sentiment. I think I'm glad that Politico and that there are still some news outlets doing this type of digging and being able to bring more of this to the light. But it just shouldn't come as a shock. It's probably just more of a confirmation of how a lot of us are already feeling about how they recruit and where they recruit and their sentiments.
When we talk about this comment, can we fix the showers, go to my iPad, gas chambers don't fit the Hitler aesthetic, that was Joe Maligno, who previously identified himself as the general counsel for the New York State Young Republicans. According to Politico, it say right here, since Politico began making inquiries, one member of the group chat is no longer employed at their job and another job was rescinded. Prominent New York Republicans, including Representative Elise Stefanik and State Senate Minority Leader Rob Ortt, have denounced the chat, and festering resentments among young Republicans have now turned into public recriminations, including allegations of character assassination and extortion. And again, they found some 2,900 pages, and it was shared among a dozen millennial and Gen Z Republicans, chronicling their campaign to seize control of the National Young Republican Organization on a hardline pro-Donald Trump platform. Many of the chat members, Larry, already work inside government or party politics, and one serves as a state senator. This is what they say, Larry. Together, the messages reveal a culture where racist, anti-Semitic, and violent rhetoric circulate freely, and where the Trump-era loosening of political norms has made such talk feel less taboo among those positioning themselves as the party's next leaders. Well, that's no shock there.
No, none of this is surprising, Roland. And one of the things I want to highlight, we're using the word young Republicans. These are all working adults. As you highlighted, some of those have lost a job. And I read the Political article. You talked about the individual that had the job offer rescinded. The other point is, and I think my colleague made that point really well, this is part of the ecosystem. This is not podcasts where you have a text thread. This is the Republican ecosystem we've seen over the last several years that they've developed, and this racist, sexist rhetoric has continued to grow. Roland, when I worked on the Hill, this kind of stuff was more fringe, right? People said it, but it wasn't like we see it on some of these major platforms, podcasts, and obviously this text thread is just another example of the kind of folks that have grown and developed and lead to this festering disease that we have in the United States for generations as it relates to racism. So none of this is surprising. Those folks should be out, as we've seen from the Political article and some of the responses we've seen from New York State officials, and publicly flogged, because this is racist. And the Republican Party has to deal with the fact that they cultivated this, and then folks like us have to deal with the repercussions.
Oh, absolutely. And if you go on here, this is what they say, Mustafa, this is the Politico piece. At least one person in the Telegram chat works in the Trump administration. Michael Bartles, who, according to his LinkedIn account, serves as a senior advisor in the Office of General Counsel within the U.S. Small Business Administration. Bartles did not have much to say in the chat, but he didn't offer any pushback against the offensive rhetoric in it either. He declined to comment. A notarized affidavit signed by Bartles and obtained by Politico also sheds light on the intra-party rivalry that led the Restore War Room Telegram chat to be made public. Bartles references Wax as well. This is the person. He wrote that he did not give Politico the chat and that Wax demanded in a phone call he provide the full chat log. When I attempted to resist that demand after providing some of the requested information, Wax threatened my professional standing and raised the possibility of potential legal action related to an alleged breach of a non-disclosure agreement. My position within the New York Young Republican Club was directly threatened. But the reality is, when you look at this chat here, now, of course, they apologize. And, this guy Walker, he apologized and all this sort of stuff. And they said all kinds of things. They called folks faggot, retarded. Nigger appeared more than 250. So faggot, retarded, and nigger appeared more than 251 times combined. And they talked about some Indian woman saying, oh, she didn't bathe. Look at this here. In a separate conversation, Giunta shared that his flight to Charleston, South Carolina landed safely. Then he offered some advice for his fellow young Republicans. Quote, if your pilot is a she and she looks 10 shades darker than someone from Sicily, just end it there. Scream the no word. Really? That's who they are. That's who they are. And these are the people. Look at this here. This is the guy Bobby Walker. This is this guy Giunta. Look, the young Republicans. These are the people. Just so everybody says, these are the faces of the future Republican leaders of tomorrow.
Nobody is born racist, right? You have to be taught to be racist. There are a number of psychological analyses out there that actually walk us through that. These are the sins, right? These are the sins of their grandfathers and great-grandfathers and fathers and mothers that have now infiltrated these young people. So they've learned this behavior. So if folks actually want any type of change to happen, it's not about ignoring this, right? This is now being ingrained into the next generation of their party, or at least a part of the party. So they have to take responsibility for this. But there is also responsibility when you're a young person and you're growing up. You have responsibility also for your actions. So if these are the types of belief systems that you live by, if these are the types of actions that you're willing to do, then you also have to deal with the repercussions that come from this type of behavior, this type of rhetoric, and also the actions that come out of it, because we know that there are folks in this country who are influenced by many folks who are in the political spectrum. And that means that if somebody goes out and beats somebody, somebody goes out and rapes somebody, if somebody goes out and kills somebody, and you have played a role in influencing that because you dehumanized others, then you have a responsibility for paying for the role that you played in this moment.
Yeah, I mean, this is who these folks are. This is another one of them. His name is William Hendricks. This is who he is. Oh, yeah, these are people who think that they should be running the show. That's what you did. Let's pull a photo up of all of them, all 7 of them. These are the folks. I mean, look at them. Oh, boy, yeah. This right here, that's your future Republican Party. That's them right there. That's your future state senators and governors and state reps and members of the House and members of the Senate. These are the people going to be serving in the Trump administration. And just understand how these folks roll. And so you look at the language that they use, and keep in mind what you're looking at here, Cameron, is also remember you had some avowed racists that was in Trump's first administration who they fired, but they've welcomed them back into the fold. They now have jobs as well. And the White House got upset with Politico when they said that Trump's rhetoric caused this. And let's just be real clear. Donald Trump can't escape this. Donald Trump's full embrace of racism and the language that he uses has led for Republicans to say, we're good. Yo, we can say and do whatever the hell we want to because the big man, he does it. So we can do it as well. That's what's going on right now, period. Cameron, how you hitting the mute button, bro?
I didn't hit the mute button. My bad, bro. I'm not sure. Can you hear me?
Cameron, anybody else there with you?
No.
So how'd you go on mute?
That was an accident.
Oh, but you hit the mute button. Yes. Don't be Noah 2.0. Come on.
Thank you, Roland. Sorry about that. But in all seriousness, the internet does keep receipts. And I think what a lot of Republicans are making a calculation, I think is a miscalculation, is that because Donald Trump has opened up this new wave of acceptance for just inexplicable behavior, for the bigotry, for homophobia, like I said, so much of the negativity around just culture, along with political culture, he's not going to be in power forever. I mean, as much as he would like to, I mean, he is creeping up on 80 years old. He's only got a few years left in his term, as long as we can make sure we vote him out. But the rest of the Republican Party, by welcoming all of this rhetoric and all of this, they're going to have to answer for this in future elections, or they're hoping they don't, but they will. And I think with these young kids and these young working adults, as it was stated earlier, have to be wary of is that just because all this is because they're in an environment now where it's okay, that doesn't mean it's going to be like that in the future. And I do hope future leaders, future opposition, future candidates, wherever they may find Cory here, like that they hold them to account moving forward.
Listen, it's no longer taboo, Larry. The Republican Party, they ain't got no problem. You can be racist, you can say stuff. They're like, cool, promotion.
Yeah, there's no standard and there's no bottom. And we're just a couple months into the administration. Unfortunately, Roland, we'll be talking about this for the next couple of years in terms of this won't be the last story like this. And I imagine that those stories that we talk about in the future would be far worse. But you're right. In the past, under maybe someone like, George Bush Jr., et cetera, these individuals would never have a path back into the Republican Party. But they'll take some time off. In a couple months, they'll get rehired by some consulting firm, and you'll find that they'll do a pity tour and say they're sorry, and they'll blame it on woke culture and whatever else. We've seen this playbook play out time and time again, but they won't be far from being embraced by the same individuals who, openly, Roland, from we see every day, federal officials who make it really clear how they feel about Black folks and other groups. So, I don't feel sorry for the people, but they'll be back, and some of them will certainly at some point be elected officials, which also, once again, goes back to my point about there is no floor.
Mustafa.
You can't have a thriving 21st century nation when it is fueled by hate and bigotry, racism, all the various isms that are out there. And we have a number of other countries that are literally knocking on the door, trying to be the leader on the planet. So these folks really need to understand that in this 21st century, we need to leave those sins in the past. We don't need to bring them forward, especially young people. The weight is too much, and it will stop you from ever truly having a country that lives up to the values and the words that have been put out there for folks as a guidepost.
Absolutely. All right, folks, I got to go to a break. We come back more on Roland Martin Unfiltered right here on the Black Star Network.
Afrotech, it's a lot of beauty, a lot of brilliance, a lot of intellect, a lot of innovation.
Companies that are most diverse are more profitable.
We're getting culture, we're getting community, we're getting the best of the best. And not only are we here to greet each other, but we're here to network and to elevate each other.
Everybody from all the major tech companies here, and that means that now everybody's in the same domain.
This is the premier event every year. This is really where we could take off. You can go fast by yourself, but we go farther together.
This is where you're supposed to be.
The original No Kings protest was 250 years ago. Americans decided they didn't want to live under the rule of King George III. They declared their independence and fought a bloody war for democracy. We've had 2.5 centuries of democracy since then, often challenging, sometimes messy, always essential. And we've fought in 2 world wars to preserve it. Now we have a would-be king who wants to take it away. King Donald I. Fuck that. We're rising up again this time, non-violently, raising our voices to declare no kings. I'm Robert De Niro, asking you to stand up and be counted in the nationwide No Kings protest on October 18th. Visit nokings.org to find, volunteer, or host a protest near you. We're all in this together, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Hello, I'm Bishop T.D. Jakes, and you're watching
Roland Martin, Unfiltered.
Folks, let's get to our next story, okay? It's day 14 of the government shutdown. Deadlock in D.C., no signs of breaking. The Senate just returned this evening for its 8th vote on a House-passed funding bill. Republicans need Democrats' help to meet the 60-vote threshold. Democrats are holding firm on extending health insurance tax credits. Democratic House leader Hakeem Jeffries slammed Republican leadership for keeping the House out of session, saying Democrats are ready to talk, but there has to be a willingness among Republicans to actually have a conversation.
Legislative session.
This is day 14 of the Trump Republican shutdown. House Democrats and Senate Democrats remain committed to finding a bipartisan path forward to reopen the government, enact a spending agreement that actually meets the needs of the American people and addresses the Republican health care crisis. The American people know that Republicans have shut the government down because of their unwillingness to provide health care to everyday Americans, working-class Americans, and middle-class Americans. The Republicans have created a health care crisis that is devastating people all across the country. Working-class America, rural America, urban America, small-town America, the heartland of America, and black and brown communities all throughout America. That Republican health care crisis includes, but is not limited to, the largest cut to Medicaid in American history, hospitals, nursing homes, and community-based health centers closing all throughout the country because of what Republicans did in their one big ugly bill. The country faces a possible $536 billion cut to Medicare if Congress doesn't act by the end of this year. The Republicans continue to refuse to extend the Affordable Care Act tax credits, which is going to result in tens of millions of Americans experiencing dramatically increased premiums, copays, and deductibles. All across the country, including, most significantly, in states that Donald Trump won. And Republicans could care less. House Republicans canceled votes 2 weeks ago, canceled votes last week, canceled votes this week. House Republicans are on vacation. House Democrats are on duty here in Washington, D.C., ready to reopen the government, ready to support our troops and hardworking federal civil servants, and ready to address the Republican health care crisis that is crushing people all across the country in an environment where the cost of living is already too high because of failed Republican policies like the Trump tariffs. We're open to sitting down anytime, any place with anyone in terms of our Republican colleagues, either here at the Capitol, or back in the Oval Office, to have a conversation about finding a bipartisan path forward. But there has to be a willingness amongst Republicans to actually have a conversation. And since the White House meeting over 2 weeks ago, Republicans have gone radio silent. Donald Trump has spent more time on the golf course than talking to Democrats on Capitol Hill. Republicans have been on vacation since September 19th in the House. And in the Senate, the Republican strategy is to do the same exact thing. bring the same failed partisan Republican spending bill to the floor over and over and over again, knowing it's going to go down. Because Democrats have been very clear. We're not going to support a partisan Republican spending bill that continues to gut the health care of the American people. We are open about having a good faith discussion with our Republican colleagues to hear their ideas about reopening the government while at the same time decisively addressing the Republican health care crisis.
Now, folks, Senator Cory Booker is going to be joining us in the next hour, talk about what happened in the Senate. They did take a vote today. It was 50-44, so they will reconvene tomorrow. Let's go to you, Mustafa. I mean, listen, the Democrats are absolutely right where they are. You stand firm on this and you make it clear. We're not going to bend. The Republicans have been trying to get the Democrats to bend to their will on every issue, and this is where they say, no, enough is enough.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, we have a healthcare crisis, and the Republican Party is exacerbating that healthcare crisis. We've talked about the millions and millions of people who are uninsured and underinsured. I personally picked up the phone and talked to rural clinics and hospitals with the folks that I know there and asked them, how are things going? They're like, we're barely hanging on because of the cuts that happened before. So now, they're literally on life support. Not only is democracy on life support across our country, but there literally are people who are on life support because they don't have the health care coverage they need. So why would the Republican Party take a chance in making sure that there were even less people in our country who have that critically needed health care coverage? So folks are doing the right thing and pushing this issue because it is literally a matter of life and death.
It is. And Larry, healthcare is a fundamental issue. And listen, when you got Marjorie Taylor Greene telling Republicans, we going to get our asses kicked on this healthcare deal, she is sounding more sane every day. Now, she still is a bad built, butch body, blonde, we know what Congresswoman Jasmine Crockett called her. But the bottom line is, they're sounding the alarm because they know they're going to be in trouble on this one. And so Democrats, this is where you don't back down. You go harder.
Yeah, it's really important and been about time the Democrats staying firm on this issue, Roland. Listen, if in the beginning of next year, these subsidies are going to expire, and millions of Americans are going to lose their health insurance, and it would be a spiral. It was going to not only impact in terms of the economy, but it's also going to increase mortality rates. So, Roland, you're right. It is important for Democrats to stand strong on this issue because it's a winnable issue. We see that from the polling, all the polling we've seen over the last 2 weeks or so. So they need to continue to fight on this issue. I'm glad Senator Booker is coming on your show because Democrats need to be on every single platform, especially talking to some of these rural voters who voted the wrong way and those individuals whose hospitals are going to close, they won't have the health insurance, and once again, the mortality rates are going to rise.
Cameron, listen, Donald Trump for 4 years talked about, we're going to replace Obamacare. It's going to be great. It's going to be wonderful. It's going to be amazing. No plan ever existed. Republicans still have offered nothing, and we know they are not going to go for expansion of health care because they truly are in the pockets of big business, in the pharmaceuticals, in the healthcare industry.
Yes, I think the one thing that Democrats need to do, and I'm seeing more and more of this online and on social feeds, but they've got to make sure they're hitting home, is that as they do come to D.C. and to show that they're here and ready to work, that they're still finding opportunities in this time to go back to their local, back to their districts and get on local radio. Make sure they're getting on local TV. Make sure they're talking to local content creators because they can't trust that the narrative of how this is shaping up day to day as more people get hit hard. This is definitely hitting all across America. My sister is a nurse for the military, and she's like, "Hey, I'm going without a paycheck." I have people in my family and close to me who are in the military, other places, and they're having to either go to work as essential workers without paychecks. So this pain is going to continue to have a ripple effect, but they can't just rely on social media. They can't just rely on one person. This is an opportunity for every member of Congress, every mayor, every person across the Democratic establishment. hell, even every Democratic candidate, to start hitting home and hitting hard in naming individuals who are not voting for this, individuals who are going to be directly responsible for their health care. This isn't a time that they must be ultra aggressive, pedal to the metal on making sure they define this narrative and define this to American people, and don't take for granted that people are just going to blame the Republicans.
Absolutely. But again, to me, I really do believe that this is the moment here, Mustafa, where Democrats can turn a corner. They have been, frankly, flailing in the wind for the last 10 months, trying to figure out how to lay a glove on Republicans. This is the moment where you take it now and you get uber aggressive right now.
You get uber aggressive, but you also make sure that the American people know that you see them and that you feel them and that you're standing with them. And how do you do that? You know, you make sure that you talk about Mrs. Ramirez, whose daughter has severe asthma. And when she loses her insurance, how is she going to help to keep her daughter alive? Or you talk about Mr. Johnson, who's actually going through dialysis treatment. And if he doesn't have the insurance, then his life is going to be cut short. Or you talk about Mr. O'Brien, who's actually going through cancer treatment through chemo. These are people that I actually know. So that's the way that you actually put the right authentic spotlight on this, is that you bring forward the names and faces of everyday people who are doing everything in their power to make sure that they're taking care of their family, taking care of their health. And that's what changes the dynamic, because if it's just a theoretical conversation about democracy or about a party that's not doing something right, that's not enough. You got to drive it home. People got to feel it. They got to know that this could be happening to me next week or next month if we don't address these issues in the proper way.
That's absolutely right, Larry. And as Bishop William Barber always said, you got to put a face on it. That's what you have to do. And frankly, every House Democrat, every Senate Democrat, they should be sharing stories and videos, photo collages of individuals if in their district. So here's what happens. We played the video yesterday, Congresswoman Jasmine Crockett, and I forgot the number she used, but it was like 70,000 people in my district can lose health care. This is what you do. Put their photos on there. You show it. You show their families. You have to make this thing personal to the public.
Yeah, absolutely. And listen, Roland, let's talk about people like Speaker Johnson, who has people, Louisiana faces an encounter struggle, particularly in his district. He's got thousands of people probably in his district going to lose their health insurance. And so you can easily, like I said, you highlight the voices of people in your district, but also highlight the voices of those who are opposed to the, address this issue relating to the expiring of subsidies. But this is really, once again, the millions if you're rolling this, it's really important to, like we said, highlight these personalized stories, run ads to talk about, like I said, the long-term impact it's going to have on these very specific people, those who are in the military, small business owners, those who are individuals, those taking care of people with disabilities, those who are just average Americans trying to make it, who are going to be negatively impacted. But Democrats have to stand strong. And it's obviously, we know it's hurting a lot of Americans in terms of the shutdown, those who are federal government.
Got it.
But this is a critical issue.
Also, I got to go to my next guest, but the other piece, Cameron, they should be nailing it when it comes to young folks. The young folks should be impacted, Gen Z and millennials, because that's going to drive voters. All right, folks, speaking of driving voters, there's a general election taking place in Virginia. Huge critical election. You've got statewide positions where folks are running. You've got the gubernatorial race. You've got Democrats and Republicans battling who's going to control the House. Of course, 2 years ago, Democrats took control of the House, and that's how Don Scott, my alpha brother, became the Speaker of the House, first time an African-American in Virginia history. They're looking to hold on to the House. Of course, in the Senate, Democrats keep control of the Senate. The most powerful person there is Senator Louise Lucas, who controls the money. But now when it comes to the Virginia Democrat, the governor's race, you have two folks. Your Lieutenant Governor Winsome Earl Sears, who is running on the Republican side against Democrat Abigail Spanberger. And joining us right now is Abigail Spanberger. Glad to have you here on Roland Martin Unfiltered. unfiltered. What immediately jumps out when we talk about these issues that we are facing. Massive number of people in Virginia have lost their jobs because of the federal government cuts. African Americans, 1 in 5 federal workers. That's having a tremendous impact on black communities. More than 300,000 black women have lost jobs in this economy since January. What specifically are you looking to do to help government workers who have lost their jobs because of MAGA and Doge, but also just broadly African Americans who are being the tax on anti-DEI that's put a lot of black women and black people out of work?
Well, Roland, I want to begin by thanking you. I know you're headed to Virginia very soon to campaign with Speaker Scott and support so many of our candidates who are running for the House of Delegates, incredible candidates who are going to flip their seats. And the issue that you are raising of, the first round of Doge and now the impact that we are feeling of Doge essentially 2.0 right now is devastating to Virginia's economy and to Virginians. And so before I get to the what am I going to do about it, the first piece of it is that right now we have a governor and a lieutenant governor who are saying nothing. Since January, when the assault on the federal workforce began, they have said nothing. They have justified it. They have said everybody loses their jobs from time to time. And they have not stood up for Virginians and for their livelihoods. And the impact, it has a significant ripple, a wave effect. It is federal workers. It is government contractors. It is small business owners. It's restaurant owners. It is people across our communities who have seen the chaos created by this administration, by Doge, and now by these additional waves, these punitive federal firings that the president is choosing to inflict upon so many federal workers in the middle of this shutdown. And the impact is enormous, and is disproportionately impacting Black women in particular. And so as governor, once I am in the seat November 4th as our election swearing in comes in January, it will be a priority for me to support federal workers in their transition into the private sector or state public sector.
When you say support, what does that mean? So, for instance, your counterpart in Maryland, Governor Wes Moore, they've been really hit hard, and they've been really proactive about placing federal workers in state jobs and others. And so, what specifically are we talking about?
Well, and so looking at what Governor Moore has done is a tremendous and clear example of what actual leadership looks like in the face of attacks on your workforce. And so as governor, I will, in some cases, copy and mirror the strong efforts of what it is that he is doing, ensuring that through the office of the governor that we are prioritizing and making both prioritizing the transition of fired federal employees into state service, where that might be their choice, but also ensuring that we are, supporting the transition of the workforce. And typically what that means is when recruiting businesses to Virginia, when working with large-scale employers within Virginia, ensuring that the Virginia Office of Economic Development, ensuring that the governor's office, that a future Secretary of Commerce are focused on using among them the many great benefits of bringing business and investments to Virginia is the fact that we have an incredible workforce that is mission driven, that is focused, that has a breadth of experience that frankly has been cast out of the workforce because of the Trump administration. And as someone who once, many years back left federal service myself, I was a CIA officer. The transition into the private sector can be a challenge. Everything from translating your resume into things that private sector employers may understand, to restarting the experience of going through a very different type of interview set. And so in some of the ways we have, in addition to strong examples to our neighbors from our neighbors in Maryland, we have the mechanics of it is we have strong programs for military veterans who are transitioning out of the military who face some of the same challenges. And you also noted the attacks on DEI. We've seen that in Virginia. particularly initially began at Virginia Military Institute.
Right, and so go to my iPad. You will see the first black superintendent at VMI was forced out, and he said it was politics, not job performance. You've got Donald Trump, who in his administration constantly attacking the president of George Mason, Gregory Washington as well. And so if you're governor, what are you going to say to Donald Trump and his administration for their constant attacks on African Americans, but it also especially African American leaders in education?
And African American leaders in education, whether it's General Wins or President Washington, and even President Ryan at UVA, who he's a white man, but he put in place important, valuable, really strong DEI policies in place and was forced out as a result. As governor, I'm going to stand up for the academic freedom of our institutions. As governor, I will make clear that that teaching our whole history, particularly in the Commonwealth of Virginia, is essential for the ability of all of our children and our citizens to understand, both the greatest triumphs and the greatest tragedies that have occurred within Virginia, and understanding our strengths, our greatest weaknesses, our greatest sins, and our greatest successes. And we have a governor who, at the high school level, has endeavored to erase any sort of, quote unquote, divisive history, which frankly is just history. And we have a governor who has not stood up for incredible leadership. You put the picture of General Wins up. Here's a man who attended Virginia Military Institute himself, went on to have a 30-plus year career in the United States Army, returned, kind of not necessarily seeing it was in his usual path, returned to VMI to lead the Institute at a particularly challenging time, and every year received performance related bonuses because he had brought up the numbers of recruits,
right,
had increased class size, was doing incredible things. And then when you look at Gregory Washington, the president at George Mason, the recognition of how much he has expanded upon and grown that institution is clear, because seeing the attacks coming for him, frankly, in large part, in the absence of a governor willing to do it, it was the business community who stood up and made clear that everything that President Washington has done has been to the great success and benefit of the larger kind of economy,
right? So here,
Virginia region.
So here are African American leaders doing the job. They keep talking about merit, but then they're trying to take them out because they're black. I only got about 5 more minutes. I got to ask you this here. You have some robust HBCUs. To your point, we're going to be at Virginia State University on Thursday on the campus there. I did the commencement before. I've been to Norfolk State. I've been to Virginia Union and others. And what plans do you have, specific plans for investment in these universities? When I travel to a lot of these HBCUs, when I look at facilities, look, University of Virginia looks a hell of a lot different than Virginia State, than Norfolk State. When I even in private HBCUs, and the reality is, when we start talking about black doctors and black engineers and black lawyers, they're coming out of disproportionately HBCUs. Now they're going on to predominantly white institutions for graduate programs. But for what type of investment are we talking about if you are a governor that these HBCUs can expect to train the next generation of leaders?
Beginning, and I'll just pivot back to this very quickly and then get to your question. During my time in Congress, I was on the HBCU caucus. I served on the Ag Committee, sat next to Congresswoman Alma Adams, who was the chair of that caucus. And we worked aggressively to ensure that we were pushing additional funds, particularly to the 1890s institutions that for years upon years upon years had been underfunded compared to the 1860s institutions. And now, given the experience and the breadth of the work, you're going to Virginia State. Virginia State is our land grant university. They are incredible. The president there, the dean of the agriculture department. Everybody's fantastic. I hope you enjoy your time there. But we have seen what happens after decades and decades and decades of underinvestment. Certainly not just in our land grant institutions, but in our HBCUs more broadly. As governor, I have already made a commitment to ensure and to aggressively work. And you mentioned Louise Lucas, who is the head of our Appropriations Committee in the Senate, and the leader of the Appropriations Committee in the House of Delegates.
And don't forget the biggest supporter for HBCUs is a man from Virginia, Congressman Bobby Scott. He's responsible for, yes, there's Alma Adams, but your former colleague Bobby Scott deserves a lot of that credit for those billions going to HBCUs.
Virginia's 3rd district. Virginia's 3rd, and certainly with Norfolk State and Hampton in his district or in his region, I'm trying to think before and after redistricting, has been an extraordinary advocate. And so I have spent a tremendous amount of time, in addition to my commitments to ensure that we are really meeting the needs and pushing more funding to HBCUs. I was down at Norfolk State in the last month or so talking to some of their board members. And the amazing thing is they continue to grow numbers because it's an incredible school. And people across the country want to come to Virginia because we have 5 HBCUs. And they're incredible. We've got 2 publics, 3 privates.
Yep.
They're big, they're small, they're land grants, everything. But they are still putting students in hotels because they do not have the physical infrastructure.
And that's happening at HBCUs around the country. Yep.
And that's a real challenge. And so ensuring that we are seeing it both in the recognition of the value that they bring to Virginia. You look at the numbers of the members of our General Assembly. So many of our members of the General Assembly leadership are themselves graduates of HBCUs, either undergrad or later went back for graduate school. And ensuring that we recognize the value of HBCUs from an educational perspective. But the argument that I will always make to the broader Commonwealth is they're drivers of our economy. People come to Virginia because of our HBCUs and stay in Virginia and create businesses and grow businesses and are innovators. And the examples are just limitless of people who have carried on that journey, and ensuring that when someone arrives with a dream of going to Hampton or a dream of going to Virginia Union, that their experience from start to finish needs to be one that is one of success, because frankly, the presidents are doing the work, the professors are doing the work, and it's places where some of those state supports have fallen short in the past that make it so someone might transfer out, or they might leave what had otherwise been their dream school. And that's to the detriment of that student, to the detriment of the HBCUs, but I would argue to the detriment of kind of Virginia as a larger entity, and ultimately down the road an economy.
Last question for you. Obviously, Democrats want to sweep all statewide seats. You're running for governor. You've got folks running for lieutenant governor. You've got Jay Jones running for attorney general. African American, had him on the show as well. Is this still a unified ticket? Do you still stand with him with all of this, with this text messaging controversy? I'm hearing from black voters out there. They saw how Democrats stood behind Ralph Northam. They saw what happened to Justin Fairfax. And so do state or Virginia Democrats, are you still unified standing with Jay Jones as a unified ticket running in November?
Well, I would note, and this was some time ago, but at the time, there were many of us who had put calls on the governor then to step aside. As it relates to the current circumstance with Jay Jones, when the text messages first came out, I had a conversation, a good conversation with Jay, where I spoke very frankly, and he spoke very frankly. And to his credit, he spoke very clearly about these text messages, about the fact that, I think he said that they made him sick to his stomach to go back and read. And for me, I very publicly denounced them. I found them to be, abhorrent, and particularly at a time in this moment where we've seen heightened violent rhetoric, and certainly we have seen politically motivated murders and throughout the summer more recently. It's incredibly important that everyone be very clear-eyed in our denunciation of any violent rhetoric. And again, he has apologized. He has stated that so plainly. Notably, the Republicans who just made this information available held on to it for years and years and years. And so if they had wanted to make this known earlier, I question their motives in waiting until October. And importantly, as I mentioned at the debate with my opponent, on the Democratic side of the aisle, we will denounce violent rhetoric, whether it is our friends or our political opponents who are uttering it. And importantly, on the other side of the opponent, or whether it's Jay's opponent, they will only denounce the violent rhetoric when it comes from Democrats. And even my opponent routinely me her enemy. And it's the type of rhetoric that I think, not to mention, of course, everything that the president says on a regular basis. Mm-hmm. And so, Virginia voters know what's at stake. We're all campaigning hard, and we're going to win, and we're going to sweep our statewide seats. We're going to flip all 3 of them. And then we're going to work hard and do the things that we promised to do. And I think there's an earnestness and an importance when we hear someone who, recognizes that they, made a mistake, or they said something they shouldn't have said, or even when taken out of context, that, I think Jay's willingness to take accountability and be very clear-eyed about it speaks to his character. And I think that as Virginians are going about making, their decisions about who to vote for, they'll take that into account, and they'll look at who has stood up for them and who has not. And the role of Attorney General it's a decisive and important one. And so moving towards this November, I do believe we're going to flip all 3 seats. And I believe that Jay is doing the work of endeavoring to rebuild trust and to earn the trust of voters. And certainly, as we head towards November, I want to keep talking about my race. I know he wants to keep talking about his race, and Gonzalo the same. And we want to ensure that we flip a number of the seats in the House of Delegates as well in the process.
So I appreciate that. Last point, earlier you were mentioning HBCUs. Let's not forget when the Biden administration came out with their report, they said that there were 16 states where HBCUs were underfunded between 1987 and 2000. Virginia State is owed $277.5 million. The Virginia General Assembly needs to properly give them that money. That's money that they were cheated out of that went to other universities. So as opposed to any new money, that money should be repaid. So I would hope you will commit to that as governor for them to get it. And so the other states on here are Tennessee, North Carolina, Florida. I've been to a lot of them. Tennessee is $2.1 billion. But this is a perfect example of one of the reasons HBCUs have been underfunded, because they were cheated out of land grant money that was supposed to go to them that went to predominantly white institutions. So if you win, I hope that becomes a priority to put it in the budget for them to fund Virginia State and give them that money.
That is a priority. And as you're going to Virginia State, I would say one more thing, just as an incredible example, I think, for the rest of the country. Virginia State and Virginia Tech in recent years have begun working together in a partnership that is extraordinary, that benefits Virginia Tech, that benefits Virginia State, and most importantly, benefits agricultural research across the Commonwealth of Virginia. And it is a model for the rest of the country. That is in no way to kind of look past the historical funding challenges that Virginia State has faced and the realities of what that means today. But I do think that Virginia State is an extraordinary example of what partnership between universities, between land-grant universities can be. And hopefully into the future, we'll see other states following that incredible example.
We did cover tonight, but I'm definitely going to get to Black-owned businesses on Thursday. And that's also a huge priority of mine as well. And those state contracts, that's critically important.
I would agree, particularly with all the attacks coming out of the administration in Washington.
All right. Abigail Spanberger, I appreciate you joining us on the show. Look forward to having you back.
Thank you so much. Enjoy your time in Virginia again. Thank you, Roland.
All right. Thanks a lot. All right, folks, going to go to a quick break. I'll be right back. Roland Unfiltered on the Black Star Network. Don't forget to support the work that we do. Join our Bring the Funk fan club. Your dollars are critically important for us to be able to continue to do the work that we do. Conversations like that, traveling as we are going to be on Thursday all around the state. So Cash App, use the Stripe QR code. You see it right here. Also, that's for credit cards. PayPal's R Martin Unfiltered. Venmo's RM Unfiltered. Zelle, Roland at RolandSMartin.com. Roland at RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. Checks and money order. Make it payable to Roland Martin Unfiltered. P.O. Box 57196, Washington, D.C. 2003 7-0196. Back in a moment.
Afrotech, it's a lot of beauty, a lot of brilliance, a lot of intellect, a lot of innovation.
Companies that are most diverse are more profitable.
We're getting culture, we're getting community, we're getting the best of the best. And not only are we here to greet each other, but we're here to network and to elevate each other.
Everybody from all the major tech companies here, and that means that now everybody's in the same domain.
This is the premier event every year.
This is really where we could take off. You can go fast by yourself, but we go farther together.
This is where you're supposed to be.
The original No Kings protest was 250 years ago. Americans decided they didn't want to live under the rule of King George III. They declared their independence and fought a bloody war for democracy. We've had 2.5 centuries of democracy since then, often challenging, sometimes messy, always essential. And we've fought in 2 world wars to preserve it. Now we have a would-be king who wants to take it away, King Donald I. Fuck that. We're rising up again this time, non-violently, raising our voices to declare no kings. I'm Robert De Niro, asking you to stand up and be counted in the nationwide No Kings protest on October 18th. Visit nokings.org to find, volunteer, or host a protest near you. We're all in this together, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Hey, I'm Malcolm Lee, and you're watching Roland Martin Unfiltered.
Quickly go to my panel. I'm going to start with you, Larry. The question there, again, you got this race going on in Virginia. You heard Abigail Spanberger there. And bottom line is, you know how we do. We don't ask black-specific stuff. That's always important. But this is an example where, again, as when it comes to the interest of black voters, our job is to challenge folks and to step up. Because what we are seeing is a massive attack by MAGA on black political leadership. And they want to take folks out all across the country. And we've got to have white politicians, white female politicians, standing up and speaking specifically to the interests of African Americans and not speaking in general terms, especially when they want our vote.
Absolutely. You got to hold these folks accountable. And you did that in an interview. You talked about what happened with VMI, but also you mentioned Virginia, obviously, like Maryland. You know, I lived in D.C. for years, DMV for years. There are a lot of black folks who have lost jobs via what's happening in the federal government. Before, what's happened recently with the shutdown, before that, we talked about the hundreds of thousands of black women that lost jobs nationally. So I'm glad you pushed her on that role. And the other thing is, you talked about the importance of HBCUs. Obviously, there's several in the state of Virginia, but she's right. We saw from, the Biden administration a study a couple years ago, but also United Negro College Fund has put out several studies in terms of the economic impact that HBCUs have on each state, particularly Virginia. So they drive the economy. So it's critically important that we close the gap. She mentioned Virginia Tech and VSU. We got to make sure they close that funding gap that has existed for decades to make sure these institutions continue to thrive, educate black students in agriculture and various other, STEM and other fields, and give black students the opportunity to fill important jobs in the United States.
When we talk, Cameron, about the future, again, here, we talk about politics. Listen, big business is directly tied to politics. So on the federal level, on the state level, the county level, the city level, it does not matter. And again, we look at how we advance our interest. It's going to be important to ask these questions, and I appreciate Abigail Spanberger answering them. But then when the election is over, it's important for African Americans to press that. When we talk about that $277.5 million, that needs to be a priority. Black Virginians should be saying to leaders in Virginia, and here's the deal. She wins, here's what's going to happen. Senator Louise Lucas is going to control the money in the Senate. You got Speaker Don Scott in the House. You're going to have a Democrat, Abigail Spanberger, in the governor's mansion. Trifecta. And to me, that should be the case. They should be putting that money in the budget. Again, that's $277.5 million. That's not new money. That's old money Virginia State should be getting. And then there should be a robust proposal to upgrade the state's HBCUs public, but also there's work that can be done private as well.
Yes, Roland. I know I'm repping Howard today, but I want to give a major shout out to Hampton University because this issue is personal to me. My younger sister is a Hampton graduate and has been living in the Hampton Roads, Hampton, Virginia area. Her and her husband, who's born, and his entire family is from that region. I'm glad you pressed that and quoted that number because this is an opportunity, and this is if the Democrats are able to win that trifecta, this is a masterclass and an opportunity for us to show how we not only get people in office, but hold them accountable to this. And Democrats wonder why there has been such tepid response to some of the party messaging over time. It is because when it seems like you have all the boxes checked and you're able to push through things that core constituencies want, that it needs to happen. But I also would have loved to her to talk more about and want to continue to how she invests in some of these rural areas away from the DC area, away from Northern Virginia. But like I said, having had family and now have an extended family all throughout more rural parts of the state, understanding how many great people are out down there looking for work and looking for industry and that big business to continue to have investments in those communities. I'm interested in making sure she continues to push for that and push for diversity of investment, both for our HBCUs and for some of those rural communities, because there's a lot of Black folks out there too.
We didn't get into this, Mustafa, but there's something that Black folks in Virginia need to be aware of, and that is this here. Virginia has a very unique law when it comes to the restoration of voting rights for people who are formerly incarcerated. And it's a racist pass. Literally, racist white lawmakers said in the early 1900s they were doing this to keep the niggers from voting. It's documented. When Terry McAuliffe was governor, he tried to do an en masse restoration. But the law says there must be you have to do it individually. So they would just sign left and right. Now, the way the law works in Virginia, the legislature they passed it in 2025. They have to pass it a second time in a successive year. The plan is to do it in 2026. If Spanberger wins, she signs it into law. Then it goes on the ballot in Virginia in November in 2026 that would then allow for people to have their votes restored once they finish serving their time. That is a huge deal, and people need to understand that's also the difference between a Spanberger being governor and a Winsome Sears Earl, whatever her name is, being governor, as to who would support the restoration automatically of people who've already been incarcerated. That's a big deal.
It's a big deal, and it also has to be on their platform. So they have to bring it forward. They have to make sure that people understand why it's so incredibly important and how it also leads to all these other issues that are so critical inside of our communities. Because if we can make sure that we have more folks who are voting, right? They're voting for whomever they feel is the best candidate for them. But then that also helps us to deal with the infant mortality rate, which is 2.5 times higher in Virginia than it is for white infants in Virginia. It also deals with education, not just that we're talking about college just a second ago, but it also gives us an opportunity to make sure that we are doing what's necessary both for public schools and charter schools, and making sure kids are in AP courses and all these other types of things, which helps you to not end up losing your rights because you are incarcerated to begin with. I can go down the list of why this is incredibly important and how it is tied to many of the other issues that are inside of our community, but you have to bring it forward. You have to make sure that folks understand that we can make sure that you are able to reclaim your power, and then you can utilize your power in the way that you see fit.
So just so folks know, and this is a story right here, Virginia is the only state that permanently disenfranchises voters with a felony conviction. This constitutional amendment would, again, change that. The current Constitution grants the governor discretion over whose rights to restore. And again, this has been in place since 1902, and it was specifically designed to keep black people from voting. And Republican Governor Glenn Youngkin has been extremely slow at restoring the voting rights of people with a felony conviction, and this would change. And so when you go to the polls in Virginia, understand, where does Spanberger stand? Where does Winsome Earl Sears stand? That's going to be critically important to understand. And so I think that's one of the issues that people need to understand, why we have to vote, why we must maximize our power, because that is an absolute game changer. Let's talk about voting. Early voting began today in Georgia municipal and special elections, including a close watch mayoral race in Marietta. Folks, there's a 54-year age gap between the two candidates. You have 78-year-old incumbent Steve Thunder Tumlin and 24-year-old challenger Sam Foster. Tumlin, a lifelong Marietta resident, touting his record in education and fiscal management. Foster, an IT engineer and nonprofit founder, says it is time for new leadership, and he's focused on affordable housing, safer streets, and better public transit. The Gen Z challenger has actually outraised the longtime mayor, Sam Foster, joins us now from Marietta. Glad to have you on the show. Sam, what was it? What was it specifically that caused you to say, you know what, it's time, I need to do this, I need to run to be mayor of my city?
I see a lot of the decisions that the mayor of Marietta is making, and I started to notice that they don't represent the working class people who live in Marietta. I believe that we need to have leadership that is responsive to the people who actually live in the city, and it is time for us to have the right leadership in Marietta.
Okay, so when you say, okay, it's time, what have you, and not representing the working class people, who would you say that the current mayor has been focused on? Give me examples, and how would you represent the working class folks in Marietta?
So I would say that the mayor primarily is focused on what I would call appearances. In 2013, he spearheaded a project to buy up low-income multifamily housing on a road known as Franklin Gateway with a $68 million bond, and we destroyed all of that housing and drove out the low-income residents out of the city. He says that is his proudest project to date. He also says that if you make the city too affordable, you make it unlivable. So he has this pattern of advocating for appearances, tourism in our downtown area, while also wanting to drive out low-income residents out of our city, and he defines that as success.
You say affordable housing. What is the state of housing in Marietta right now?
So the median housing price in Marietta is around $500,000, and rent has nearly doubled in the past 10 years in Marietta as well. So housing, both renter and owner occupied, has become mostly unaffordable for regular people in Marietta. And we see that not only in Marietta, across the entire Metro Atlanta region and across the entire country.
And so how would you make that change as mayor? What specifically?
So there are a lot of laws that we have on the municipal level that make it harder for us to build housing. When we look at when a developer wants to come into the city and build housing, they have to go through all of these different steps in order to get to the point where they actually build that housing. We had somebody come into the city who was wanting to build an apartment building downtown, and the mayor compared that developer to William Sherman, saying that William Sherman didn't damage the square as much as the developer was trying to. So trying to streamline some of those processes is going to make it easier to build housing. And I also want to provide incentives for developers to make a certain amount of units affordable when they build new units.
You say public transportation is a huge issue. We say better public transportation. Got it. How would you make it better?
So right now, the reason most people do not take public transit is because it's not practical. It's not feasible. When you think of how you plan your day, nobody wants to look at their watch and plan their day out in 30-minute increments to determine when's the next time I can take the bus. So the main thing I want to do is to improve the service of the bus, making sure that buses on our most used routes are running at least 10 to 15 minutes, making sure that there's shelters at our bus stops, and making sure the buses actually go where people want to be.
Wow. All right, let's go to my panel. Questions. Let's see. Cameron, you first.
So good to see you, and good luck on this race. One question I have, as we've seen more and more Gen Z candidates and folks really taking the power into their own hands, what has been something that's been inspiring, again, being so young, well, relatively young in this race? What's one thing or inspirational story or something that you've seen along this race and along this journey to be mayor of Marietta?
I think what really inspires me to keep going, or what has been inspiring, is the conversations that I've had with residents as I've been getting out and knocking doors and talking to different people. There was this one story that really sticks with me where this younger person, I was talking to them and they said, oh, I make about $85,000 at my current job, but I'm working another job because I'm paying off medical debt. And I look at people who are in different parts of the neighborhood, and I'm talking to them and like, oh yeah, I used to live on Franklin Gateway, but I got displaced, and now they live in a worse side of town. And those are the stories that keep me going. People who are not advocated for, people who don't have a voice, the stories we're not telling, because the mayor would like to have you think that everything's okay. He thinks his record is flawless and that he has brought the city into this great state. But we can always do better, and there are people who are still suffering. So that really is what inspires me to keep going and advocating for everyone in Marietta.
Larry.
Yeah, thanks for coming on the show. One of the challenges with these races, and we talk about on this show, particularly, when we're on the show a lot, is demographics and younger voters. And so you kind of touched on, having conversations. What are you doing regarding your campaign into energizing your young voters who could make a difference in this election?
So we're really getting out there and knocking doors. That is the primary way we're going to be reaching voters. But we also have a very large social media presence, which was not something I intended to happen, but it ended up happening. And that has reached a lot of younger people. I've had a high school student, a senior, saying, you're going to be the first person I'm voting for, and they're 18. So really getting out there and directly reaching voters through texting, door knocking, all of the different methods of direct voter contact. That's what we're going for. And whether you're young or old, that's really how we're going to reach people. And
guys, all right. We had a technical issue, so let's do this here. We're going to fix this real quick so he can finish answering Larry's question, then Mustafa's question. So let me go to a break. We'll be right back on Roland Martin Unfiltered on the Black Star Network.
Next on The Black Table with me, Craig Carr. Why the America we live in today is not what the founders intended or what they outlined in the Declaration of Independence and even the Constitution. Professor and author Kermit Roosevelt will join us to talk about his book, The Nation That Never Was. How history was misinterpreted, the intent and realities of America's beginnings, and missed a much better story in the process.
So if you have to pick some group to marginalize, I think it should be the people who are against equality.
That's next on The Black Table, right here on the Black Star Network.
If in this country right now, you have people get up in the morning and the only thing they can think about is how many people they can hurt, and they got the power, that's the time for mourning.
For better or worse, what makes America special, it's that legal system that's supposed to protect minorities from the tyranny of the majority.
We are at a point of a moral emergency. We must raise a voice of outrage. We must raise a voice of compassion. And we must raise a voice of unity.
We are not in a crisis of party versus party. We are in a crisis of civilization, a human rights crisis, and a crisis of democracy itself. And guess what? You've been chosen to make sure that those that would destroy, those that would hate, don't have the final say, and they don't ultimately win.
Hey, I'm Mark Morial, President and CEO of the National Urban League, and I'm watching Roland Martin Unfiltered.
All right, Sam Foster, we've been back. Go ahead and finish answering the question, and then we will then take the final question.
I forgot the question.
Larry, restate your question.
Yeah, well, what are you doing to energize young people to come out and vote?
Direct voter contact is the best way to reach people, young or old, and we're out there texting people, calling them, knocking on their doors, and we have a large social media presence, which was not my intention, but it ended up happening anyway, which has energized a lot of younger voters because a lot of them are on social media.
Mustafa?
Well, Brother Foster, congratulations on running. Appreciate seeing young people, you taking the mantle up. Quick question. I have family in Marietta. Do you have innovative or other ways that you are going to address the unhoused population who are there in the city?
So when we look at homelessness, there are two main causes of somebody not having a home. The biggest one is that they are not able to afford housing. So we need more initiatives to bring more affordable housing into the city. I was reading this article in the AJC about a mother who was discharged from the military and wasn't able to afford a home, but she applied for a voucher, but it took months for her to be able to actually access that voucher. So she was sleeping out of her car. And I look at scenarios like that and I understand that we need more affordable housing. That's number one. And number two, we need to provide more services or work with people who can provide those services. We don't have adequate services right now to deal with people who are struggling with drug addiction, people who are struggling with mental health issues. So what we see a lot is we are keeping people right where they are, but we're not able to lift them out of the situation that they're in.
All right, then. Well, Sam, certainly good luck in this race, and we'll be watching to see what happens on Election Day.
Thank you so much.
All right, thanks a bunch. Folks, let's stay on politics. In North Carolina, Republicans have announced they are going to start gerrymandering races even further, abiding by Donald Trump. Excuse me. Donald Trump, of course, has been wanting Republicans to steal more seats because they are afraid they're going to lose the House next year. Now, Republicans have already gerrymandered the state. They're doing it again. They're allowed to do so because Republicans control the state Supreme Court. And so don't be surprised if they go after the seat of Congressman Don Davis, which is already a +2 Republican seat. They're going to make it a lot redder. And so that we're going to see that actually happen. So we'll be following what happens there in North Carolina. So lots of stuff going on. And so, folks, we got critical races happening all across the country. And so I just want us to be paying attention to recognize that these things absolutely matter. All right, quick break. We come back. We're going to talk about the passing of D'Angelo. Also, how's an organization celebrating Bill Russell, but they ignore Bill Russell's family? That's kind of dumb to me. We'll talk about that. Plus, we have Senator Cory Booker as well as our Marketplace segment. Real quick break, right back. Roland Martin Unfiltered on the Black Star Network.
Hi, I'm Swing Cash, Basketball Hall of Famer, and you're watching Roland Martin Unfiltered.
You know, I'm always confused when groups decide to honor somebody, but they don't include the family of the honoree when they've passed on. So, for instance, check this out. So there's a group called Mentor National. They're celebrating 35 years. And tonight they're having a gala in New York City. And so this is the press release that they sent out. Mentor celebrates 35 years of relationships, powering opportunities at New York City Gala, honoring Bill Russell, Ray Lewis, and David Shapiro. So you go through here and, you know, of course, Bill Russell, Hall of Famer, is a player and a coach. It says that his widow, Janine Russell, will accept the award on his behalf. Okay, I got it. Ray Lewis is an NFL Hall of Famer. You got David Shapiro, CEO of the YMCA of Greater Boston. Okay, but this is where I saw this tweet and it is confusing to me. So it says, Mentor leads, expands, and strengthens the mentoring movement, building capacity to make high-quality relationships accessible to all young people. 35 years ago, Mentor was created to expand opportunities for young people by building a youth mentoring field and movement. Okay, I got it. All right, so you're helping with young people. But then I saw this tweet, and I'm kind of like, this doesn't make any sense whatsoever. And so this is one of Bill Russell's children, Karen Russell. Look at this here. And again, it makes no sense to me, and I don't understand how you can be a youth organization and you are, you know, honoring Bill Russell, but then you don't actually include the children of Bill Russell. And if you are, this is just crazy to me. So look at this. Karen Russell tweeted, in HBCU Celtic City, they used a Red Auerbach clip. When Red was asked why my father finally reconciled with Boston, Red said it was the power of his daughter. That daughter was me. In 1999, I partnered with my dad to retire his number publicly. I produced the Bill Russell tribute to benefit Mentor National, the first of many Team Russell joint projects. Just to be clear, I worked hard behind the scenes to make many of his greatest off-the-court honors possible, including but not limited to his public jersey retirement, his honorary degrees, the Medal of Freedom, the Bill Russell statue, and what he called his greatest gift. A private meeting, his hero Nelson Mandela, pictured here with his late wife Marilyn Russell, it took me years to arrange. Daddy earned every one of them. But to be clear, none of these post-career milestones would have happened without me. It was our family partnership. It says, then she writes, for decades, I volunteered Mentor. My father and I helped turn mentoring into a national movement. Together, we created moments that brought people together and raised millions for young people. And so she goes on and she lays all these things out, all the great things that he did, the work that was involved. And then she says, one of the best parts of the Bill Russell statue are the quotes. Like my favorite, there are no other people's children except maybe us. I learned that Mentor National is honoring our dad and grandfather tonight and didn't include us. Stop erasing Black history. Now, I know Bill Russell's widow, Janine. I've talked to her, I've met her. But the reality is the Bill Russell legacy should be shared with all of his family members. Bill Russell has been honored. I was at the NBA All-Star game where they renamed, I think, the school after him, the gym. I couldn't attend it. They recently had a bridge being named after him as well. And then, you know, you have all of these different things that have happened. And I get all of that. But this is all I'm saying. Bill Russell has children. Bill Russell has children that are still here. And if my parents, okay, were being honored, and even if someone's parent had passed away or gotten divorced and they got remarried or whatever, if you're gonna honor someone, you still include the children. You just don't invite the widow. That's just me. And if I'm Karen Russell, and I saw this tweet, if I'm Karen Russell, I would really be pissed off for an organization that I helped for a very long time would be honoring my dad, and damn, you didn't even call me. She says right now, here's what's so crazy, do the math. She says in here that she put this Bill Russell tribute together in 1999 to benefit this group. They're celebrating 35 years. So this Bill Russell tribute happened 26 years ago. They were 6. So if I'm Karen Russell, yeah, I'm probably going to be real pissed off for the organization that I helped put on the map with my dad, and then you honor my dad and you don't even invite me. That is insulting. So I don't know anything between the relationship between Janine Russell and Karen and her brother. I don't know. But this is what I will say this. If you are an organization, if you are the NBA, if you are dedicating a bridge in Boston, if you are something dealing with Bill Russell's school, if you're any group out there in America and you are trying to celebrate Bill Russell, you might want to include the Bill Russell family. And the Bill Russell family is not just his widow. The Bill Russell family is Bill Russell's widow, Bill Russell's children, Bill Russell's grandchildren. And if I was a child of Bill Russell, I would be insulted if my dad is constantly being honored and people act like I don't exist. That to me is wrong. It is wrong. It is wrong. It is wrong. And somebody needs to say it. I'll be right back. Roland Martin Unfiltered on the Black Star Network.
Next on the Black Table with me, Craig Coker. Why the America we live in today is not what the founders intended or what they outlined in the Declaration of Independence and even the Constitution. Professor and author Kermit Roosevelt will join us to talk about his book, The Nation That Never Was. How history was misinterpreted, the intent and realities of America's beginnings, and missed a much better story in the process.
So if you have to pick some group to marginalize, I think it should be the people who are against equality.
That's next on the Black Table, right here on the Black Star Network.
What's up? It's the MCEO Talib Kweli. You are checking out Roland Martin Unfiltered.
All right, y'all. Harmonic Chips wants everyone to experience pure joy in every bite of their all-natural potato chips. These are American-made. They are gluten-free, non-GMO, contain no MSG, and are vegan-friendly. Founded by Quanyata Benson, Harmonic Chips is a woman-owned company committed to creating delicious flavors that evoke happy memories. Quanyata joins us now from Snellville, Georgia. All right, so where these things start? Were you just hungry one damn night and you were like, I am not feeling these chips or the snacks, they ain't right for me. What happened?
Well, it basically started my grandkids. My grandchildren are, inspiration for
You got grandkids?
That yes, yes, I have 2.
You got 2 grandkids? I would never thought that, girl. Go on, keep going.
So basically with, their snacks and all of those things, I wanted them to be able to have something that, was filling as well as good for them as well. And then I wanted to be able to do something like I did with my grandmother, when she was alive, something that we could share and have some good memories about.
Okay, so what? You were just sitting in the crib and was like, you know what? I want my own damn chips. Okay, like how did we get there?
Well, it started with a conversation with my husband. And we wanted to provide, something to, just everyday people. You didn't have to, have a whole lot of money, but you wanted something that was good for you and delicious at the same time. So did a little research and learned that, hey, there aren't any Black-owned potato chip companies, especially for woman-owned. Basically, it's just the big conglomerates or what have you. So I decided that I wanted to, provide something great for a lot of people. And not only just, for the kids or what have you, but you can join in with your friends and make great memories together.
All right, so we got honey jalapeno, dill pickle, Lord, don't let my wife see those, and rosemary flavored. Okay, so how did you settle on these three?
Okay, so I like spicy foods. My son likes spicy food. Okay, so I wanted to do spicy, but nothing that was going to like burn your taste buds, off. But also have that sweetness to it. So that's how honey jalapeno came about.
Gotcha. Now I see right there are four. So which one am I missing? Hold up. I see it over here. Which would be? So I see the purple one. No, I got rosemary, the blue one. All right, so the blue one. Yeah, Mackenzie, you left out a bag of chips. These little people. Okay, so we got sea salt flavored. So we got four right here. And so you said they're American made?
Oh yes. Right here in the good old USA.
Okay. Questions from the panel. Let's see here. Let's see who's probably a chips fiend on the panel. Probably Cameron.
I can't lie. I do love a good bag of chips. I had some right before the show. Very proud of this. I love to support Black-owned businesses, and I can't wait to taste the chips. I guess my question here, marketing. I'm in marketing. I work in a marketing company, and I think the story, just hearing the story as we heard about it from the show and I think is so compelling and could translate to so many different people, especially about your grandmother and that dynamic there. How are you going about selling the story of the chips and selling the story of, like I said, all the vegan and all the different the attributes of the chips, in addition to them just tasting good? How are you going about your marketing effort to really find your customers?
Okay. So definitely socials. I mean, you can't do anything. I feel like you can't have a successful business without tapping into social media. So we're definitely, we have a social media presence. We're doing some online marketing as well. We also, have a lot of people giving reviews and so forth. We are in the Atlanta airport, so we're getting foot traffic that way as well. And, just trying to do utilizing every avenue possible to get the word out.
Cool. Larry.
Yeah, I'm a big chips person also. So question I have is in terms of what kind of growth are you expecting over the next few years?
Well, the growth expected is to be in at least 2 big box, retail markets or what have you, as well as some of, your convenience stores and so forth. So right now like I said, we're in the Atlanta airport. We sell through our online store and things of that nature. We have partnered with a few wineries, a couple of coffee shops. So we're, looking to definitely expand that footprint.
Mustafa.
Yeah, well, congratulations so far on all the success. In our community, we have to deal with high blood pressure and a number of other things. So I noticed in some of the material I read that you talk about clean ingredients, you talk about no junk. I really appreciated that language. Could you unpack that for the viewers?
Okay, so a lot of times the first thing you will notice when I say junk, if you read the label, you'll see a lot of words that you really can't pronounce and those types of things. For me, that's the first sign that, hey, there's a lot of fillers or preservatives and so forth. But with my chips, pretty much everything you've heard of. The only thing that we add in it is, what is it? I can't think of the name of it right now, but it's to prevent the spices from clumping, which
Dextrin,
isn't anything.
I see on the dill pickle it says maltodextrin, sea salt flakes, garlic, powdered vinegar,
Yes.
sugar, onion, mustard seed oil, mustard seed, dill, citric acid, silicon dioxide, oil of dill weed. That's the
Yes.
under the dill pickle. Go ahead.
Yes, sir. So, like I said, we want to use all natural ingredients and everything. So that way you're not feeling guilty when you're, if you go through an entire bag because, hey, these are some of the same spices that you have in your cabinet already. So, it's kind of like, having a good meal, if you will, right in a bag, right in a potato chip bag. So that's what we're trying to do, provide some options, again, that's delicious as well as, not harmful to, just your everyday life.
All right, y'all, we got Harmonic Chips. We've got, again, rosemary flavored, honey jalapeno, dill pickle, and of course, Mackenzie left out sea salt. So these are the 4 chips right here. Go to shopblackstarnetwork.com, shopblackstarnetwork.com for these black-owned chips. Y'all can check them out. Again, these hit your taste buds and see if y'all buy these up like crazy, and they can come out with some other flavors as well. Quanietta, I appreciate it. Thanks a lot.
Well, thank you so much for having me.
Not a problem. All right, then. Folks, real quick break. We come back. Senator Cory Booker joins us right here. Roland Martin Unfiltered on the Black Star Network. Support the work that we do. Join our Breeding Funk fan club. Your support is critically important, y'all. Ain't nobody else featuring black-owned businesses the way we do every single week on this show in our Marketplace segment. This is how we recirculate the black dollar in our community. So if y'all want to contribute to the efforts that we do, what you need to do is go to you want to contribute via Cash App, use the Stripe QR code. You see it right here. Credit cards as well. PayPal's R Martin Unfiltered, Venmo's RM Unfiltered, Zelle, Roland at RolandSMartin.com, Roland at RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. Checks and money ordered. Make it payable to Roland Martin Unfiltered, P.O. Box 57196, Washington, D.C. 2003 7-0196. Folks, we're going to play the Afrotech commercial next. We come right back. Senator Cory Booker, who had the nerve to come on my show without a pocket square. I'll deal with that in a moment.
Afrotech, it's a lot of beauty, a lot of brilliance, a lot of intellect, a lot of innovation.
Companies that are most diverse are more profitable.
We're getting culture, we're getting community, we're getting the best of the best. And not only are we here to greet each other, but we're here to network and to elevate each other.
Everybody from all the major tech companies here, and that means that now everybody's in the same domain.
This is the premier event every year. This is really where we could take off. You can go fast by yourself, but we go farther together.
This is where you're supposed to be.
Melanie Campbell, National Coalition on Black Civic Participation and Black Women's Roundtable. And we are watching Roland Martin Unfiltered all day, every day, 24/7. Spread the word.
Folks, as we said in the last hour, the government shutdown continues. Senate Democrats and House Democrats have remained firm on the issue of health care. The Senate voted tonight on the issue. They, of course, it was 50 to 44 vote. So they'll reconvene tomorrow. Joining us right now, Senator Cory Booker. Senator, glad to have you on the show. Man, it's been too long. Last time you were here 3 years ago. So we got to do this a lot more often.
Hold on, Roland. We know each other a long time. I just got to call you out on it. Why do you need Roland Martin Unfiltered? I have never met you.
Easy.
You were filtered. I've never met you when you were filtered. You were always unfiltered.
Right, but it's for the people who don't know me and the people who I can't text on their cell phone because some people keep changing their number.
I have never dodged you, man. I will give you my new number.
Yes.
Not if you're live on the air.
but obviously not live on the air, duh. But you know, you gotta say Roland Martin Unfiltered because not everybody know a brother. You know, I meet new people every day.
This is why I appreciate you, because you and I don't hope I don't call you out by calling you a friend, but you're the kind of friend I love because you're the one that will always tell me the truth, even if it's uncomfortable.
Absolutely, such as you ain't wearing a pocket square, or are you? What are you doing? What's up?
I am not wearing a pocket square,
yes,
sir.
I'll explain that to y'all later.
I just want everybody on this show to know I'm feeling kind of like important. I'm being hustled into the national convention, the Democratic National Convention. There's tons of people on the floor, and suddenly I get this yell from Roland. Yeah, the whole place quiets, and hears you call me out saying that I did not come correct. I don't look ready for the stage. Everybody cracked up. I felt like, how could my brother do that to me? You could whisper things like that.
No, I'm trying to help brother out because you were looking bland.
I remember this. You called me out because my shoes did not match my suit. That's what you called me.
Yes, I did. Yes, I did. Yes. See, again, brothers helping brothers. All right, let's get right into it. Let's talk about this shutdown. This is, I'll say this here. You could disagree. That's fine. I think the last 10 months, Democrats have been flailing in the wind, trying to figure out how to properly punch back and connect with the American people against Republicans. I believe with this government shutdown, which I support, in that the fight over health care is a fundamental issue. And based upon polling data, it seems that Democrats have gotten their sea legs and people are responding to calling out Republicans on this very issue. And it is one that Democrats should stay healed. They should absolutely not give an inch on.
First of all, I just want you to know this is a real issue for Americans. We're going to see this twin tsunami that Republicans unleashed. The first is they attacked Medicaid. That's going to hit at the end of next year. And now they're gutting the Affordable Care Act, which was part of their 2025 plan. Their Project 2025 plan is going to gut the Affordable Care Act subsidies. The combined losses will be in the many, many millions, but more savagely, in addition to millions losing their health insurance, millions and millions more, multiples more, will see their premiums skyrocket. And what that means for Americans is a lot of pain at a time that everything else is going up. The cost of energy, the cost of groceries, the cost of gasoline. And so Donald Trump, who promised to lower costs on day one, has done nothing but the opposite. And so Democrats have drawn a line and said, listen, if you want our votes and you need our votes, you control the House, the Senate, and the White House. But your responsibility is to pass a budget. You're not going to get our votes unless you do something about this crisis of your creation that's going to cause pain to tens of millions of Americans.
And what we're seeing a lot more robust talking on this, communicating. And go live to my iPad right now. Congresswoman Jasmine Crockett is live on YouTube with her quarterly update on this government shutdown. We're seeing the messaging absolutely improve. I actually saw a lot of people, frankly, saying that a video that Senator Chuck Schumer put out was an excellent video. Hadn't heard that all year. And so take us inside. You know, was there a coming to Jesus moment to get Democrats to understand that they've got to communicate better with the people to understand what is going on and not sort of talk at 30,000 feet in Capitol Hill language?
Well, look, I went to Chuck, and you know this, last Congress, and said Democrats have a problem. They don't realize that most Americans get their media through their handheld devices. And I asked him to give me the job of trying to get my caucus to communicate more effectively on these digital platforms. And I have to say, my caucus took to it in an extremely incredible way. Like, you had people starting accounts, putting themselves on accounts, learning the best ways to communicate on these platforms, be creative in their making of videos, work with creators and influencers. We have seen the amount of engagement that Democratic caucus, the 47 of us, have online go up fivefold. Millions and millions more followers. For the first time, we passed Republican senators in the amount of engagement we're getting online. And so this storm, this healthcare crisis, hit at the right time where Democrats really have been peaking in their ability to communicate. And I'm very glad to see millions and millions of people engaging with senators in a direct way on their platforms, where senators are laying it plain that Donald Trump is coming after your health care. Donald Trump is going to raise your health care costs for many people, doubling your premiums. That Donald Trump, who gave tax cuts to the wealthiest of Americans, all while raiding your subsidies and resources you have for your family. This is a president that clearly works for millionaires and billionaires, and no hating on them, but he's working against working people, and we're seeing it in everything, especially right now, we're seeing it in healthcare.
When we talk about what we're seeing, I did a video back in January after inauguration that I said what we're seeing right now is a massive effort to defund Black America from Donald Trump and these MAGA folks. They are attacking every single thing. They're attacking Black education. They're attacking books. They're forcing companies to pull back billions of dollars in DEI commitments. They are attacking, look at 300,000 Black women out of jobs. You look at Black men, Black youth out of jobs. You look at the attack on everything. And what we are seeing, this is real. This is a significant threat to the future of Black America. And I'll tell you, Senator, and I had text your old number, then your staff was monitoring. I was really pissed off when you had one of your colleagues, Senator Eric Schmidt, who gave what I call one of the most racist speeches ever, where he gave a speech to Peter Thiel's group that said that essentially this country is ours. Our ancestors founded it for us and only for us. And it was, I hit a number of Democrats who didn't say anything. We are dealing with people who do not want Black and brown people in this country. And the attack on Black and brown people is clear from Republicans.
So I'm going to say this very plainly. Black folks have been at the center of every movement for social justice, for economic opportunity, for healthcare, for strength. I mean, you look at our history, Black people have been a part of making America, America for more people, not just Black people, but from the labor movement to the suffrage movement. You see African Americans at the center of making America live up to its promise for more Americans. And so this idea that we are divisible, that we could separate Black folks from America is outrageous. And I'm seeing exactly like you said, you ran through the data very quick, but Black unemployment, the attack on Black artists and Black writers, the firing of Black employees from federal jobs who've been there, career employees, for trumped up reasons. When he got rid of the head librarian, the first time it had ever been a Black woman, saying that she was putting inappropriate materials out for lending to children when the Library of Congress doesn't even lend to children. It's a reality that just is painful. So
I mean, look, trying to fire the Black president at George Mason, who's been doing a hell of a job. I mean, they are going after Black folks left and right.
But I want to say this again. James Baldwin said this so eloquently when they came after Angela Davis, wrongfully. He said, if they come for you in the morning, then they're going to come for me at night. So understand that what Donald Trump is doing is a threat to everyone. What he's doing in immigration is a threat to everyone. What he's doing to free speech is a threat to everyone. Black folks are a canary in the coal mine. And his attacks on African Americans is an attack on the Constitution itself. And when you erode the rights of some people, you affect the rights of all people. And we've got to understand in this country more than ever that we're all in this together. And a president who singles out Black folk in the way that he's doing, that literally comes after our communities, our culture, our artists, our scientists, our engineers, our universities. When he comes after Black folks like he is doing, he is threatening the well-being, not just of Blacks, but of all of America.
But they don't think it's all of us. They do believe it's for them. I talked about this last month, and I played the whole speech. This is just 1 minute and 36 seconds. And listen, a lot of Democrats wouldn't touch it. The CBC put out a small statement. It was no big deal. I don't know if the DNC did anything. I hit Ken Martin about it. But when I saw this, and I said, wait a minute, this is a sitting United States senator. They just gerrymandered Emmanuel Cleaver's seat in Missouri. And this is a man who sits in the same chamber with you. who said this in 2025, just last month. Roll it.
The Continental Army soldiers dying of frostbite at Valley Forge. The Pilgrims struggling to survive in the hard winter soil of Plymouth. The pioneers striking out from Missouri for the wild and dangerous frontier. The outnumbered Kentucky settlers repelling wave after wave of Indian war band attacks from beyond the stockade walls. All of them will be astonished to hear that they were only fighting for a proposition. They believed they were fighting for a nation, a homeland for themselves and their descendants. They fought, they bled, they struggled, they died for us. They built this country for us. America, in all its glory, is their gift to us, handed down across the generations. It belongs to us. It's our birthright. It's our heritage, our destiny. If America is everything and everyone, then it is nothing and no one at all.
Senator, he said for us, he is not talking about you and I.
Yeah, but what about this is surprising to you?
No, it's not surprising to me at all. I wrote the book called White Fear. It's not surprising. My problem is, did any Democrat go to him and say, who the hell were you talking about? Was he challenged?
Yeah, look, from Mitch McConnell to Ted Cruz, I sit in committee hearings. I watched Ketanji Brown Jackson get attacked in ways that were callous, cruel, and frankly, deeply bigoted. I find things that my colleagues say often incendiary and in many ways trying to get a response. So let me tell you what my focus is. First of all, one of the best issues for well-being to all your listeners is to realize you do not have to attend every argument you're invited to. I want to be clear to you right now, because Donald Trump is the chief of this, trying to bait us into debates and arguments over his incendiary, outrageous stuff. All that's distracting us from the deeper fight that's going on right now is that I've got hundreds and hundreds of thousands of people in my state, including African Americans, that have their health care under threat. And so these are the fights that I'm focused on right now. And it doesn't mean that I don't step out and condemn what people say, and I have done that on many things. But I'm telling you right now, and in fact, I don't have to tell you because you reported on it, that part of their strategy is to overwhelm us, to give us so much stuff that we spend all of our time reacting and not being proactive. My focus right now is the fight to keep the health care of millions of Americans, and in particular, the hundreds of thousands of people in New Jersey who are going to lose their health care.
I have three panelists. I want a question from each one of them. Your folks told us we had 20 minutes, and so they're giving us a 2-minute. I'm not sure why, because that's not how my clock is looking. So if I can get those questions, I would greatly appreciate it.
I can come in there in studio. Where are you recording this?
No, I'm live on my show. My studio. I'm at 16th and K. Matter of fact, you should come to see this black-owned. Look, there's no other studio like this. The color. Trust me, there's nothing like. Turn the camera around. Since he ain't been here, come on, turn the camera around. Look at this.
I want to see the whole thing.
Look at this. You got Harry Belafonte, Ida B. Turn the lights up. Turn the lights up so he can see. You got Ida B. Wells. Look at the artwork. Harry Belafonte, James Baldwin. Man, forget MSNBC, CNN, Fox News. It don't get any blacker than this. Look, I got Obama on the wall over there. I got MLK on the wall. We've got everybody in here. So
this is what I want to say. This is what I want to say for your listeners, because I appreciate this about you. It is not just the symbols that you put up. It's the substance you bring, even when nobody is watching. There's been a number of times that you've come into a room. You and I have been in the same room on opposite sides of the table. You're with the journalists. I'm with the senators. And the same person you are on TV, fighting for African Americans, fighting for the issues our people care about, even behind closed doors. So anybody could put posters of Malcolm X on their walls, and Lord knows a lot of people do. But when nobody's looking, they're not standing up and fighting like you do for folks. So I just want you to know that's why I will always respect you, always heed your call, even though you lost my number.
I ain't lose your number. You changed your number. We ain't gonna go here.
Even though you called me out, even though back then I was single too, you were calling me out.
I know you engaged. I know you engaged. I'll have a conversation with her later. But let me. I got to get my questions in. Mustafa, please. What's your question for Senator Cory Booker?
Well, Senator Booker, it's good to see you. We travel a lot of roads.
It's great to see you, man. It's great. And you put the pocket in square. I'm going to just tell you, you're being a little bit of a brown nose to the host.
No. He's an alpha. He's a fellow alpha. It's a smart man.
Senator Booker, it's good to see you. We've been.
I'll ask you a question on one condition, man. When my book comes out in a few months, you'll put me up at least for one shot and all that, and those incredible books by Black authors you got up.
Oh, without a doubt, that's not a problem.
Okay, all right.
So we've been a lot of places together. Can you in this moment, there's all these impacts that are happening to our community. Can you talk a little bit about what your North Star looks like for Black folks? I know you embrace everyone in the country, but we're talking about Black folks.
No, but I'm the only senator, to my knowledge, that lives in a Black community, in a majority Black city. You talk about your room. I keep this map up right there above the continent of Africa because I'm on the subcommittee. But above that is the Central Ward of Newark, New Jersey, the first people to ever elect me. And I don't forget the people that first put me into public service in the position I am right now. So this is my North Star. For African Americans right now, to live in a country where every African American child has access to great health care, every African American family has access to great health care, where every African American family who works hard doesn't find themselves with constant gnawing economic insecurity because their paychecks don't go far enough, where they can actually afford rent, where the harder they work and the more they apply their genius, the more rewards they get. They don't find themselves in poverty traps, where the educational system serves their genius and gives generation after generation chances to make out of themselves what their ancestors dream of. And then finally, you and I know this, is where part of that vision of health and well-being includes healthy food, access to nutritious food, free of environmental toxins, where a child doesn't have their entire future upended because they live in a nation that is toxic, or a community or a neighborhood that's toxic. Toxic air, toxic soil, toxic food.
Larry.
Yes, Senator Booker, thank you for taking time. I must say that I was born in Camden, New Jersey. Still have a lot of family in New Jersey and across the bridge in Philadelphia also. So my question was, I want to talk about redistricting, and we saw what's happened in the last couple months in states throughout the country. We talked about it in this show tonight. And can you talk a little bit about particularly with Black political power in terms of the number of possibly, particularly Black congressional districts could be, eliminated, and the impact that will have on Black political power in the future?
Yeah, well, it's no longer, that is happening. That is happening. A lot of these states that are now rushing to redistrict are targeting African-American representatives and doing what I've seen in a lot of cities, where they take a Black community and they parse them out like pieces of the pie to dilute African-American votes and African-American representation. And so this, to me, is why when the Supreme Court guts the Voting Rights Act, when the Supreme Court guts the fundamental protections that African Americans have, it's what then makes us vulnerable to what I think is a bigoted targeting of legislators that are trying to undermine equal representation.
Cameron Trimble, the youngster on the panel.
How you doing, Senator? Cameron Trimble here.
Boy, I just told your name. You ain't got to repeat your name. Go ahead and ask your question.
I want to know where he's from.
From Cleveland, Ohio, but here in Washington, D.C. I had the honor of serving as President Biden's Director of Digital Engagement for the first 2 years. And so my question is squarely there. With you mentioned the five-fold increase of digital engagement kind of across platforms. But as we see the landscape of digital, especially social media, changing with TikTok and what we don't know is going to happen there. Obviously, all the bots and how how so many different things on our side have been either shadow banned or suppressed. Have you really spearheaded or doing planning with you and your colleagues across the party, not just in the Senate, how we can look to fight back against that in these upcoming elections? Because we can't take for granted, just because we can accumulate followers and we can accumulate interest now, that the algorithms in the playing field which is rapidly evolving. Like, what efforts are you seeing? Because I think so much is going to be won and lost on the digital landscape across the board.
Yeah, you're right, and it's very terrifying what can happen because the landscape is changing so quickly. With AI, the sophistication of bots and the sophistication of algorithm influence is really growing. So I will say I'm having a lot of conversations both on the official side as an elected leader that should be doing everything we can to try to protect our communications and speech from malign influence or these platforms finding ways to unfairly choke certain content, shadow ban, as you said, and more. But I'm also thinking about this on the political side of how do you run elections in this new environment, because just the Obama era, all the innovations that were thought the Democrats were seen then to be on the cutting edge, well, we're well behind the game right now as a party and have a lot of catch up to do. And so I am doing a lot of meetings with people that are with the party that are investing in this space and trying to not only play good defense versus bot farms and all these other things that are undermining these platforms and our influence and our voices, but start to play offense as well so that we can get our messaging out there and seen by wider and broader audiences. And I will tell you this, bringing this back full circle to Roland, is we who, many of us live as African Americans in the culture on certain platforms and engaging. It started back in the old days with Black Twitter, but now it's evolved in a much bigger way. When you have a lot of people making communications decisions, but they don't understand the Black community or the Latino community, the diverse Asian American community, they are going to miss opportunities to communicate to those offices and leave our community feeling like they often do, where you're just not talking to us, you're not communicating us, we don't know what you're doing for us. Exactly. And that's why platforms like this, but strategies are so important as well.
Well, you're absolutely right, and I'll end it with this here. Not disappearing, but they got to make an investment. And I'm telling you, I've dealt with too many campaigns where they play us small, they throw small amounts of money, and I see other folks getting 6- and 7-figure ad buys, and I'm sitting here going, really? But then they want us to come save their asses in the last 3 weeks of the campaign. And I've said this directly to Senator Chuck Schumer. I've said it to Jeffries. I've said it to Ken Martin. I've said it to folks, DSCC, DCCC, House Majority PAC, Senate Majority PAC. Don't just sit here and reward us with meetings. Reward us also with advertising, because you do it to Sinclair, you do it to Nexstar, you do it to Tegna, you do it to CNN, MSNBC, but they always play Black-owned media small, and that's one of the reasons why we can't actually build and have scale, because we never see those dollars. Those are just facts.
And for people that don't know this, when campaigns are spending literally hundreds of millions of dollars on communication, and they think they can communicate to our communities without going onto platforms like these and doing what we do with other platforms that go to the majority, they're making not only a bad mistake in terms of getting to the Black community and communicating to the Black community, they're also undermining Black communication apparatuses altogether. So Roland, you and I have been talking about this for years. When I came into the Senate, it was a much different place. And now, thanks to Chuck Schumer's leadership and others, the people making decisions in the DS are more diverse. And you see Black faces in those spaces helping to actually decide where money goes. And that's making a big difference.
Well, it might be more diverse, but I can tell you, I don't recall seeing any of that in 24. So we'll see what happens in 2026.
Okay, man.
All right.
Well, I'm running in 26, so let's talk about it.
All right, Senator, we appreciate it. Send me a text, and let's have you back on, and then we'll have you in studio. Let me know when your book comes out as well.
I appreciate you, man. Thank you.
All right, thanks a bunch. Folks, we end the show on a sad note. Grammy-winning R&B artist D'Angelo has passed away at the age of 51 years old due to pancreatic cancer. He kept it quiet just among his family. He was born Michael D'Angelo Archer. Rose to fame in the 1990s with his groundbreaking debut album, Brown Sugar. The hit single, Lady, peaked at number 10 on the Billboard Hot 100 in March of 1996, spending 20 weeks on the charts. He reached even greater success with his 2000 sophomore album, Voodoo, which debuted at number 1 on the Billboard 200 and earned the Grammy Award for Best R&B Album. Its lead single, Untitled, How Does It Feel, also won a Grammy for Best Male R&B Vocal Performance. And of course, sisters know about that video. It cemented his legacy as one of the most influential voices in R&B. A statement from D'Angelo, and now keep in mind, he had a child with Angie Stone. She died tragically in a car crash in March. Their son, Michael, released this statement. I am grateful for your thoughts and prayers during these very difficult times, as it has been a very rough and sad year for me. I ask that you please continue to keep me in your thoughts, as it will not be easy. But one thing that both my parents taught me was to be strong. Of course, he said, I intend to do just that. And as I said, Angie Stone, she passed away in a crash while she was traveling in Alabama in March. I'm going to go to you, Larry, first. It's unmistakable when you talk about the impact of D'Angelo. Did not put out a ton of work, but extremely influential. Remember that black male anthem, You Will Know. That pulled together a plethora of black male singers. That was written and produced by D'Angelo as well.
Yeah, it's really hit hard when I heard the news today, Roland. Like a lot of folks, D'Angelo, that neo soul period, along with him and Erykah Badu, Jill Scott, Maxwell, others, was really important time for me as a young adult in terms of the music. But you're right, his impact on R&B and soul music is unquestionable and he's going to be missed. I remember a few months after, his album came out in 95, seeing him in DC, and the crowd and the vibes. And like I said, for a lot of black men, in terms of that balance, in terms of love for black women, but also the soul and also how we could be, vulnerable at the same time. So his music will be missed. And like a lot of black folks, I was really broken about it today.
Mustafa.
D'Angelo's music was pure. It actually touched your soul, and that's the reason that it will live forever. I hope that the lesson also here is that we continue to die disproportionately from pancreatic cancer. We die at the highest numbers. And I hope that, even though we've lost this magnificent brother, that because of that loss, folks will go out, make sure they're taking care of their health and making sure that they're getting tested.
Absolutely. Cameron.
This definitely hit home for me. I was squarely in my youth in high school and college when Brown Sugar came out, and then when Voodoo came out, and saw that real world effect. He came to Howard Homecoming while I was there. But one thing I will say is in the recent pandemic, in the Versus series, I'm so glad he got to get his flowers again. Not that he ever lost them. But it was really good to see him be able to perform on a global stage again one time and reconnect to his music. And I think one lesson from his music, or from his career, as you mentioned, he didn't put out a lot of albums. I think he maybe put out 3.
Yeah, because he took off a significant period, about 5 years. So he took off a lot of time as well, like a lot of artists do. But go ahead.
But when you see the impact of how much you can do with such powerful music. I mean, Brown Sugar, if you look at my title right now, is still in my definitely top 10 R&B albums. I listen to Jones in My Bone, Cruising. I know it might be blasphemous, but I listen to that more than I listen to the Smokey Robinson version. Maybe that's just my generation. But for what he was able to do, his voice, his soul, his instrumentation, his artistry, I've been able to see him at least 3 times perform in my life. I'm really sad, and prayers to his family and all his fans.
This is a statement that was put out by Lauryn Hill. And she posted this: I regret not having more time with you. Your undeniable beauty and talent were not of this world, and a presence not of this world needs protection in a world that covets light and the anointing of God. You, sir, moved us, stirred us, inspired, and even intimidated others to action with your genius. Thank you for being a beacon of light to a generation and beyond who had no remembrance of the legacy that preceded us. Thank you for charting the course and for making space during a time when no similar space really existed. You imagine a unity of strength and sensitivity in black manhood. You imaged a unity of strength and sensitivity in black manhood to a generation that only saw itself as having to be one or the other. It is my earnest prayer that you are in peace, far away from selfishness, fear, and or controlling interest, far from possessiveness, far from greed, far from manipulation, far from exploitation, far from intentionally designed chaos, and that you, brother, are in peace, in bliss, and in eternal light and fulfillment with our Father in heaven. I love you and I missed you. May God grant peace and shelter to your family, true friends, and genuine appreciators, Brother King. That, of course, is a statement from Lauryn Hill with regards to the passing of D'Angelo. You know, I was having a conversation, Mustafa, with someone the other day, and this individual, the sister I was talking to, she was talking about how she's been pained by a lot of things, and she said, primarily, she said, because I'm now experiencing things that my parents experienced. And I know what she was talking about. What she was talking about is that, you know, when you reach your 50s, all of a sudden, the passing of people who we know, people who we admire, whether they are entertainers or singers or athletes, but also classmates, begin to pick up because there are more years behind us and in front of us. And of course, D'Angelo was dealing with pancreatic cancer. There are people who now are experiencing so many different things. And what I tell folks constantly, and I get people, they always crack me up. They say, man, you're always going here. You're always playing golf. You're always doing this and doing that. And I remind people, I'm like, ain't no day, ain't no hour, ain't no minute, no second promised. And the reality is we got to live life to the fullest. And I always use the hashtag live life, love it. And because we have to recognize that we all have a timestamp, all have an expiration date, and we simply don't know what it is.
Well, you know, I believe that we're all sent here to do good, to touch, to make sure that folks know that they're seen and valued and honored. And when I think about D'Angelo, when I think about a number of folks who have, you know, crossed over to be with the ancestors, you know, that's what they did. And that's why it's so incredibly important for us to honor folks, both when they're here in this moment, putting our arms around them, whether, you know, it is actually physically or through thoughts and prayers and connection by picking up the phone. But it is also about us honoring everything that they left behind and cherishing that and protecting it, especially in a time of erasure. You know, our music is so incredibly important. Our poetry is important. All the things that writers do is so incredibly important because it is the essence of who we are. And D'Angelo brought that forward. If you listen to his music, when we talk about soul music, his music was just that. All you have to do is turn down the lights. All you have to do is put on that album, and it takes you to another place. It replenishes you. And we should do that each and every day with each other, especially when folks are always coming for us. I always want Black folks to truly love Black folks. We talk about that, but we don't always put it into action. So, you know, hopefully this is a remembrance of how, not only how special we are, not only of our Black excellence and beauty, but also that we need to live it each and every day. Because as you said, one day there will be an expiration, but the expiration doesn't have to end who we were and what we gave back to our people and to future generations.
And at that point, Larry, I think it's so important because the one thing about music, but it's not just even music, we now live in a visual world, and those words can live on and on and on. Andrew Young, Ambassador Young, accidentally texted me the other day, and I was like, yo, is it a butt dial? What happened? I hit him, and we had a brief chat. But he always says Dr. King was assassinated April 4th, 1968. He said, but literally, he said physically he's not here, but he still lives with us every day because somewhere in the world, he's being talked about, his speeches are being played, his books are being read. He said, so the reality is, he said, Martin has been living with us every single day since the day that he was physically taken from us. And that's also the power of music when an artist passes away.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's funny you mentioned that because D'Angelo reminded me of one of my Philly, famous musicians, Teddy Pendergrass, in terms of sensuality in his lyrics and his appeal to women. But you're right, Roland. His music will live on, and his music will influence generations of musical artists long after we're gone. And that's the legacy that musicians can leave that many of us could never understand. But his legacy is without question, and he will continue to live on. And let's listen to his music in the car or wherever we are, working out, etc. And I send my condolences to his son.
And Cameron, to the point you made earlier, listen, artists learn from other artists, so there's no doubt you're going to have a generation of artists that looked at D'Angelo, how he did music, how he produced, that voice, the writing, the instrumentation, and say, hey, man, I could gain inspiration from that.
I agree. I think it was his instrumentation. It was he had a distinct voice. I think there is something to be said about him taking those breaks, touring, and then taking time to refill his creative energy, and then come back with another amazing classic and hit. That I know the modern music times in this digital age, it's harder to do. But it might, like they said, there's something over quality over quantity. And then one thing, I know we jokingly, we alluded to it, that Untitled, How Does It Feel? The visual of that and how striking that was. And it obviously, I was squarely in college when that came out, and that was all the rage of all the women. But what I will say,
it was simple. It was simple. D'Angelo, exactly. butt naked in a black background.
I don't know, but I will say, like, just in terms of when you say inspiring it, and something that was so simple, and that was, you remember the 2000s, 90s is when they're spending $500,000, $1 million, $2 million on videos, and one of the most impactful videos that still sticks out into your day is something I guarantee you shouldn't have cost more than maybe a few $1,000s, just whatever it took, the lighting and so forth. So for him to go against the mold at a time specifically then when people were pouring so much into that, and he just let the music and the visual connect. And then now when you hear it, I don't watch the video, but you hear the song, like how powerful.
You like, I don't watch the video. Trust me, you put that video around a sister, the scene is going to change. Folks, the great musician Raphael Sadiq had a conversation with iHeart Radio where he talked about working with D'Angelo on the song Lady. Here's what he said.
The first time we met, D was supposed to come to my house, and he didn't show up the first day. And then but he came the next day. But I think he thought, he was going to come to a house, and it was going to look like the rich and famous, probably with a spiral stairs and helpers, everybody in the house. And
yeah, it's like, I'm going to Tony's house. It's
but when he thought it's going to be a lot of people, he don't really like a lot of people, Yeah. And then he found out I don't either. So when he got to my little 2-bedroom, $235,000 crib, where, it was in the garage. It was me, him, and my engineer.
Where at?
In Sacramento.
In Sac? Oh, wow.
Yeah. And I lived in this neighborhood full of, like, lobbyists and politicians, right? And we were just, and he was just so surprised. He didn't tell me later on. I thought his house was going to be crowded with a lot of people, and it wasn't. And so I started playing Lady. That's the first thing we worked on was Lady.
Wow. You had that already?
Yeah.
Wow.
I had the idea because it was supposed to be for Tony's record. The idea, but
for like House of Music maybe or something?
Yeah, they didn't like it. They didn't like the initial idea. They never heard it, what it was going to be.
Okay.
Neither did I. But I played the guitar riff for D'Angelo, and he said, I like it. I said, cool. So I was going to call somebody over to play my guitar parts over. He said, no, you should leave what you did. And that's the first time my guitar playing ever got on the record.
Wow.
Ever got on the record, yeah. So, but I think how we came up with it, we figured it out. We were playing, and we were playing behind the beat, but I think we were just really trying to lock something in. And so he would fall back and he would start laughing, then I would fall back and we started kind of smiling and laughing, and it we just kept going back and forth, but not talking about it, and it became sort of the style of his record. But that's the way he sings, that's the way he plays.
Wow.
And it was just natural for him, but he's a Dilla fan.
Yeah.
And so then, I'm a Dilla fan too, so I figured it out later. We were just mocking Dilla.
Really? That early? Early on?
I think Dilla was the first one.
Okay.
Or we heard it through hip hop.
Yeah, right.
Maybe
right.
just not
Far
Dilla.
Side records.
Maybe we heard it on some Wu-Tang records. Maybe we heard it on some Tribe records.
Yeah.
I love hip hop.
Yeah.
Right? So I think both our love for the Hawk is in gospel and hip hop and rock and songwriting. It was just the perfect storm at the right.
Jalone passed away at the age of 51 due to pancreatic cancer. So the condolences go to his family, loved one, and millions of fans across the world. Cameron, Larry, Mustafa, I appreciate y'all being on today's show. Thank you so very much. Folks, that is it for us. Don't forget, Thursday, we will be broadcasting live on the campus of Virginia State University. That's right. We'll be, of course, doing what we do, talking about the critical races coming up in the November election. It's going to be a packed house. We want to see the students there. We're going to be in full force with our production. Looking forward to being on the campus of Virginia State University Thursday. Live, 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern. The public is invited, so look forward to having you there. Folks, support the work that we do. Join our Bring the Funk fan club. Again, your dollars are critically important for us to do the work we do. And then what we want is, of course, our fans. If 20,000 of our fans contribute on average $50 each a year, that's $4.19 a month, 13 cents a day, goes to support this show, the other shows of the network. We're launching 2 new shows this year before the end of December, so really looking forward to that. So your help is needed right here. So if you want to contribute via Cash App, go to use the Stripe QR code. Just hit right here, bottom left-hand corner. You got Cash App. Use that. Also, credit cards. PayPal's R Martin Unfiltered. Venmo's RM Unfiltered. Zelle. Roland at RolandSMartin.com. Roland at RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. Download the Check Some Money order. P.O. Box 57196, Washington, D.C. 20037-0196. Make the checks out to Roland Martin Unfiltered. Download the app. Black Star Network app, Apple phone, Android phone, Apple TV, Android TV, Roku, Amazon Fire TV, Xbox One, Samsung Smart TV. Be sure to get a copy of my book, White Fear, How the Browning of America is Making White Folks Lose Their Minds, available bookstores nationwide. Get the audio version I read on Audible. If you want to get our Roland Martin Unfiltered Black Star Network swag, go to shopblackstarnetwork.com. You can get it all right there. T-shirts, hoodies, wall art, mugs, and all kind of other stuff. So check it out. If you want to get our black-owned products, like our Harmonic Chips, you see them right here. The products, all these products are on our site right here as well. Go to the website, shopblackstarnetwork.com. Support our black-owned businesses, y'all. Support our black-owned businesses. And, of course, download the app Fanbase, okay? Get the app. And if you want to invest, go to startengine.com/fanbase, startengine.com/fanbase. Get more information. Shout out to Jackson State. They are #1 in the swag football, so I'm rocking their shirt today. I got this when I gave the commencement address at Jackson State, and so was rocking this shirt here. And so y'all tell me what HBCU I should wear tomorrow. But remember, I only wear shirts or gear of HBCUs where I've actually been to. So Virginia State, let's see here. What did I have, Virginia State? Oh, they gave me a jacket. I need a shirt. I need a Virginia State sweatshirt and a t-shirt so I can wear in the summer. So I got but they gave me a jacket. It get a little hot, y'all, on this show in a jacket. So I'll see if I can rock that tomorrow. So we'll see what happens. And Oakwood University, hey, y'all, tell Oakwood they got to send me some gear. I spoke there in the chapel years ago, and I remember y'all, Oakwood don't have no meat on campus. Lord have mercy, they totally vegetarian. Y'all know them people were just fiending for a 3-piece. Anyway, Oakwood, y'all need to send me some gear so I can rock it on the show. Congrats to your new president. Y'all, that's it. I'm going to see y'all tomorrow. Hey, had a great time with the Brian Jordan Celebrity Golf Classic. I'm going to have that video of Brian talking about the great work that they do. They do some amazing work. We're going to have that for you as well. And then we got the recap, man, of the Chris Tucker Golf Tournament, Alex English. Man, we got some funny stuff to show y'all. And so look forward to sharing that with y'all as well. Y'all, that's it. I'm going to see y'all tomorrow right here, Roland Martin Unfiltered on the Black Star Network. Holla!